Good morning, and thank you for your patience. After much communication with our colleagues downtown, we are now up and running with YouTube. We have the stream, and we are now having a public hearing. So if I can get the members to come back on, we will start in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Started, I guess, with the opening remarks. Okay, good morning, everyone. First of all, we apologize for the delay in starting today's meeting. We were having YouTube connectivity issues, but that's now been resolved. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Participating in today's hearing are Mr. Don Taylor, Sophia Reddick, Neil Palmer, and Danny Bellissimo, and I am Michael Clark, and I am chairing this meeting. So any registered participants will be participating by audio only, and we ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. You're good? Okay, anyone who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you enter your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email, if applicable. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, or LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure will be as follows. I'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We'll start at item number 1. This morning's agenda goes, we have 14 items. And when an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with a presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and we'll comment when we reach the 5-minute mark and ask you to wrap up. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first, makes a presentation to the committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, usually opposed, will be invited to speak, and committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers, not to introduce new information at that time. And that would then end the end of discussion on that application. The application is then taken into committee for a decision. Before we move on to with this morning's matters, we have a couple of matters to take care of. First of all, I guess to confirm the minutes of the last meeting. I believe it was February the 9th. Is it the 9th?
I'll move approval.
Okay, was that Neil? I didn't see
who. Neil Palmer.
Neil Palmer, thank you. Seconder for that motion.
Oh, second.
Thank you. Can you just maybe state your name when you say your seconds so we know who it is? Okay, that was Don Taylor. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Don Taylor will second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Does any of the members have any declarations of interest to declare, any panel or staff on this morning's agenda items? None to declare, so okay. With respect to any files to be closed, Mr. Carvalino? Okay, and deferral requests, we'll deal with deferrals as we go through the items, and actually I think the first and second items are going to have some issues regarding deferral, so we'll call the first item, which is 99 27th Street. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and there are 3 variances, 5 letters of opposition. Urban Forestry is requesting a condition. However, we have a request for deferral from the applicant. Registered to speak on this application, there are many people, including Arben Shpati, the agent, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other people registered to speak on this matter. I'm not aware whether these other speakers are aware of the deferral request on this item. They're not. Okay. Request for deferral. And first of all, I guess if we have Mr. Shpati on the line.
Yes.
We have an email here dated February the 14th following concerns, additional concerns of the city staff and their recommendations for deferral. I guess also taking into consideration the neighbors' comments, new drawings will be resubmitted to maintain the Long Branch neighborhood guidelines. So I assume you're gonna go ahead and complete the guideline and perhaps make revisions. So you're asking to postpone this to another date. Mr. Shpati, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I did this. Good morning. I did this request for deferral. I see the neighbors' concerns, city staff, planners, so I'm totally agree, and I would like to revise the drawings to fit with the guideline.
Okay, so you're both prepared. You're first of all deferring for the purpose of complying or filling out the Long Branch guidelines, as well as to make changes or consider making changes in accordance with the concerns raised by city staff and by area neighbors. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess this matter would be brought back on. There would be full re-notification at your expense for the mailing, and the neighbors will be re-notified. So I don't know if we have a spokesperson for the neighbors when we're in person. You know, everyone's meeting outside the room. We don't have that today on that. I see we have someone from the Long Branch Neighborhood Association, Christine Mercado. So perhaps we can hear from Christine first.
Hello, Mr. Chair. It's Christine Mercado at 11 Atherton. The neighbors and I have spoken, and we are in support of a deferral, and we are looking at the proposal, and it definitely doesn't comply with the guidelines. So we just for some context for the applicant, Long Branch is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Toronto, and as such has
Um,
character defining features.
Ms. Marquette,
Just a second.
yeah,
Yep,
I think you can, we
I
can move to
understand.
service, you can get in touch with, I guess you wanted to state something for the record, then please go ahead and.
Yep, just stating it for the
Yep.
record. And we are the only neighborhood with robust character guidelines. So as far as the FSI variance goes, he's proposing the second largest house on 27th Street. So from our point of view, it actually should be one of the best examples of adhering to the guidelines to preserve neighborhood character. So that would be our suggestion. And if you would like to contact us through the association, we would be more than happy to help him through that process.
Yeah, I was going to suggest if there's some way of Mr. Spatty get in touch with you or the other neighbors to maybe, whether, we're not having in-person meetings like we used to have before COVID, but if there's.
Yep, for sure.
So.
For sure, we're actually, our letters are on file as well as our contact information, so we're available to speak.
And you can sort of coordinate or quarterback the consultation process with the other concerned neighbors, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. So I guess we don't have to then go through and canvass all the other neighbors on the issue of the deferral. It's a good thing. He's going to be making hopefully changes to reduce some of these variances, including, I guess, your main one is the floor space index that you're concerned with, and also complying with the guidelines. Okay, that's all you wanted to say? Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Carvalina, I guess we don't have to canvass the other neighbors that are on the line. There's many of them on the issue of the deferral, since we have Ms. Mercado's position.
If there is someone who wishes to speak, we can canvass them now really quickly if they disagree with the deferral request.
Okay, so we have to go, can someone just pipe up, or we have to actually unmute one of them one at a time?
I would have to unmute each individual person. I mean, I can unmute everyone at once.
So I don't know, how would someone indicate if they want to
Give me
weigh in on this
second
issue?
to do that.
Jim Yetter, I agree with deferral.
Who is that?
Jim Yetter,
Okay.
68
That's
Alder
68
Crescent.
Alder, okay, thank you. Does
Lori
anyone-
Penny at 99. Please defer.
Thank you. Okay, so we
Andy
haven't heard.
Jones at 12 Jasmine Avenue. I also agree to defer.
Thank you, Mr. Scholes. Perhaps we can just, then someone can pipe up if they have an objection to the deferral, and then otherwise we can move on. Okay, committee members need a motion to defer the application.
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor moves that the application be deferred to enable revisions to the proposal in consultation with the Long Branch Committee and the City of Toronto Planning Department.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconded for that motion.
Danny Benissimo seconds the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. Thank you. Okay, our next application is 24 Jackson Avenue. It's an application to construct a two-story rear and south side additions. And there are 6 variances. We have revised plans and a waiver, covering letter, planning rationale, photos, and planning condition. And transportation has no objections. However, we do have a request for deferral from the applicant. That letter is...
Hello, Mr. Chair. It's Peter Milchin, 296 Mill Road. I'm the agent for the applicant. We're requesting a deferral to the next meeting, if possible, March 9th. We've made some minor modifications to the proposal. We've also submitted a revised zoning certificate, and we'd like the notice to be based on the revised zoning certificate.
Okay, so there'll be re-notification of that. You're the only speaker registered on this, by the way. So do any committee members have any questions for Mr. Milson, or otherwise can someone prepared to make a motion for deferral? And I believe we have a specific date for that for the next hearing, March 9th. Correct? Someone ready to make a motion to defer the application?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, and I move that this application be deferred to enable revisions to be developed and recirculated.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for that.
Sophia Ruddick, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? It's unanimously deferred to March the 9th. Okay, our next application is 72 Wilmont Drive. It's an application to legalize and maintain the existing rear shed, to maintain the existing carport, and to construct a new front porch. There are 6 variances. There's a copy of an order to comply, and transportation has conditions of approval in the event of approval of the application. And registered to speak on this is Luis Bijana, care of City View Design Build Limited, as well as Lynette Reese. So is Luis there? Luis?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yep, present.
Would you care to make an Lynette will not be joining us? Okay, so I don't know where she was from, but it's only you. So would you like to, rather than make a presentation, since there's no one here in opposition, let's just see if committee members, first of all, can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Louis Bahania. Address is 37 Osner Crescent in Woodbridge, Ontario.
Okay, so why is this coming here to legalize and maintain? It's already been built?
Yes, the owner was not aware of the bylaws and the regulations for building anything. He thought the carport, perhaps, and the shed didn't comply with, didn't require a permit. Therefore, he built it on his own. Obviously, neighbors called, ordered to comply, and that's when we got called in to address these issues.
And sir, you've seen the transportation conditions, and your client is okay with those proposed conditions?
We've seen transportation and the forestry, and we have no objections to them. We can comply, and that's no problem.
Oh yeah, I see there is your urban forestry condition number 1 as well. Okay, so let's see if
Correct.
committee members have any questions for you, or if not, if someone's ready to make a motion on this application.
Okay.
If there are no other questions by the other members, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Bellissimo, go ahead.
And I find that the variances are minor in nature and make a motion for approval subject to forestry and transportation conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Seconder for that motion.
Sophia Ruddick, I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? Okay, okay, they're back up. I was just saying I didn't have visuals on Mr. Palmer or Ms. Ruddick, but now I have Mr. Palmer back, so it's unanimous, and the application is approved subject to the conditions. Thank you, Mr. Bijana. Okay, the next application is item number 4, 499 Evans Avenue. And this is an application for a 2-story east side addition, which will contain a secondary suite. There are 4 variances. We have a copy of the site-specific zoning bylaw for the area, and a copy of an order to comply. And the registered to speak on this application is Ken Demakarokis, who is the applicant.
Yes, how are you doing today?
Very well. How are you?
Not bad.
So you want to build a 2-story east side addition that contains a secondary suite. You are the only person registered to speak on this. So tell us what happened. You had an order to comply here?
So yeah, there was an existing addition attached to the house for the previous many years.
Right.
It was built without a permit. Did not comply with the zoning bylaws, obviously. So we were brought in to address those issues there.
Okay. And we don't have any issues. There's no comments from city departments or from area neighbors. Committee members, anyone have any questions for Mr. Demakarokis? Okay, and if there are no questions, if someone's prepared to weigh in with a motion.
Danny Bellissimo, like to make a motion? I find that the variances are minor. Find that the variances are minor in nature and move approval.
Yeah, there are no conditions. We have a seconder for Mr. Bellissimo.
I'll second. Neil Palmer will second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Unanimous approval. There we go. There's a bit of a time delay when the hands go up. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a long delay. Okay. So, sir, you have your approval. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 5 is 238 30th Street. It's an application to construct a 2-story rear addition, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch, and a rear deck. And on this application, we have a copy of the bylaws for the area. We have 1 letter of support, and that's all we have. And the only party registered to speak is the owner, Rue Pacheco.
Good morning, Rui
the
Pacheco.
agent and owner, I see. Okay. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I see.
So
Hello.
it's a very straightforward application. I don't think we need a presentation on this, so let's see if committee members have any questions for you. I see there is one letter of support, and there's also some photos. Okay, sir, is there anything you'd like to add before I see if committee members have any questions?
I just compare my home to my neighbor's home, and I guess the size of the home is still smaller compared to my neighbor's, located at 236 30th Street.
Right.
And so I feel as if the variances are very minor.
Okay. And I see this. We have a letter, I think, with a photo. And that's.
I did.
Is that from you or from a neighbor? Those were photos you included?
Yeah, so both homes. So my neighbor's home and my home.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
So just to clarify, so it's not a letter of support, is it just a photo of the home from the applicant?
That is correct.
Okay. And I just lost my connection here, but okay. Someone ready to make a motion? Oh, here it is. Got it.
It's Sophia. Oh, go ahead, Don. Okay, it's Sophia Reddick. I'm prepared to make a motion. I find that the variance is minor in nature and consistent with the principles of the Planning Act, and I approve a motion to approve this variance request.
Okay, and I don't believe there's any conditions on this. So.
I didn't see any forestry ones, and I don't believe there's anything else.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reddick. A seconder for Ms. Reddick's motion.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you very much, sir. You have your variances.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, our next application is item number 6, 112 TAYSHAM CRESCENT. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 7 variances. We have a zoning review waiver. We have planning asking for a condition of approval in the event of approval, a condition. And we have 110 TAYSHAM opposed. Okay, there. I want to just make a comment about the condition, but I can do that a little later. Registered to speak on this item is the owner, Chirag Patel, as well as, I guess, his architect, Nilesh Luhar, available for questions, and we have the neighbor at 110 who wrote in an opposition, registered to speak as well. So let's hear from Mr. Patel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Chirag Patel. This is my own house. I'm living here since 2014. It's a single-story, three-bedroom house. So with the growing needs with our family and our kids get older, we have decided to rebuild this house instead of buying somewhere else because we like the neighborhood and we are living here since now almost 7 years. So initially the house was proposed with some larger FSI of 0.58 and we had a communication with the planning department, and based on recommendation from the city's planning department, we have reduced FSI to 0.55. The similar is being approved
Whatever
in
you've
the
reduced,
surrounding.
sorry, sir, whatever you've reduced it to is reflected in our plans. You're not looking to make further changes, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So the revised plan was submitted and it is currently in front of Committee of Adjustment.
Right.
And we also applied separately with the urban forestry and TRCA, and we
Yeah, I see there's a
received the
forestry condition as
respective
well.
consent as well.
And TRCA, there's some email from TRCA. So you've seen the letter of opposition from the neighbor. We'll hear from the neighbor. Have you read the neighbor's letter of opposition? Have you spoken to your neighbor or?
No, I didn't read the, actually, I'm not aware of there is a letter of opposition from.
Okay. Well, he goes through and he indicates the percentage you're over on each if you've seen the letter. And he says it would be harmful for the resident. Each of the violations, he calls them violations, opposed to variances. So let's hear from the neighbor. Before we do that, let's just see if there's anything you'd like to add to what you've said so far, and let's see if committee members have any questions for you at this juncture. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Patel? Or for his architect, who I believe is standing by? Okay, if there's no questions, let's go to the neighbor at 110, and Mr. Patel, if you can listen, you'll be asked to respond to whatever he has to say. You'll have an opportunity to respond. Okay.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, panel. This is Oleg Miroshnichenko, neighbor to this property at 1112 TAYSHAM CRESCENT, which is in question.
Okay, you're Mr. Miroshenko.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we have your letter. It's worded just general. Can you give some specifics as to
yes, sir.
What your objection is to what's being proposed here, and specifically anything, or just in general?
Specifically and in general. So the requested variances, in fact, are major, not minor. Just to mention here 7 criteria. Lot coverage is over maximum limit by 17%. Yeah. Floor space index above by 23%.
Sir, rather than have you read out your letter and tell me what the percentage that they're over, we don't really deal here with percentages. We deal on impact. So rather than telling me how much it's over, one's over by 23%, one's over, can you just advise what the impact is on you and or other neighbors? You mentioned obstacles for such as shade, sunlight, reduce fresh airflow, and degrade landscape. Breach of the existing law. Yeah. So you realize though, but this committee, that's what this committee is for, to allow variances from the bylaw. So rather than say it's illegal, that's why they come here to ask for permission, and the neighbors can show how they're impacted and why it shouldn't be granted. So you're just telling us you feel it's too large, and collectively and individually it shouldn't be allowed.
Right. So it's too large, excessive. Then they create this new project will be harmful for our environment. It will create heavy obstacles to our dwelling, shade afternoon light, degrade the view, then reduce airflow and circulation, and also will bring to a landscape degradation. Just to mention here one more figure, the current owner cut and killed the green hedge of 29.4 meters length. So all these things will just degrade our landscape here, and the requested variances are too large against the bylaw requirements to our RG zone.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anything you'd like to add to that, or those are your submissions? Let's see if any of the committee members have a question for you. Does anyone have a question for the neighbor at 110? Okay, I know we also have TRCA permit is required, but they're okay with the application at this point. As well, there's mention of 2 opposition letters, but in fact, I only have 1. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. And just to clarify, because this has come up a few times, just want to make a note for the record and on this application. If you look at the planning memo, mentions that in the event of an approval, staff requests that the proposed development be constructed as illustrated in the revised site plan as it relates to calculation of lot coverage. Normally, up to date, I've seen that it usually says to be built substantially in accordance with, but I see there looks like a number of applications today where they've changed the wording of this old condition of substantially in accordance, and I think it's a step in the right direction. It says constructed as illustrated on the whatever document, in this case the site plan, as it relates to calculation of lot coverage. In other cases it says as it relates to depth and length. So what they're saying here is it's not substantially, it's got to be exactly what it is with respect to, in this case, lot coverage. So I think it's just wanted to make that point for the record because I've been here doing this a long time and they've seemed to have changed the wording, which I think is actually beneficial. So I just wanted to point that out to the members. So we do have that requested condition. I guess, Mr. Patel, you now have a chance to respond to the neighbors' concerns, and then we'll take it into committee for a decision. So do you have anything to say, Mr. Patel, in response to what your neighbor has stated? He thinks it's too big. I think
Yes, I do.
Planning seems to be okay with it.
So, Mr. Mayor, like if you see your neighborhood, like there are more than 30 to 40 houses developed in the same square footage of the areas. Okay. Eventually, some of those are the 350 square meter of the gross built-up area, whereas my house is only 312 square meter. We reduced it quite a bit in accordance with our preliminary consultation with the city's planning department. Also, we have communicated with the planning regarding what maximum FSI they can support. And based on the recommendation, we revised the drawing and sent a waiver. The revised drawing is in front of committee right now.
Okay.
So if we look at the previous approvals in the surrounding area, this house is almost 25 to 30% lower, lesser in the area.
Okay.
Even one house, just 2 lots adjoining, it is being approved last year by committee with a 341 square meter area.
Okay. So, Mr. Patel, you didn't speak to any of your, either the neighbor at 110 or the neighbor at 114 or the people right behind you, but this is the only neighbor that came up. But you've advised us that you in fact came with another application for more, and after speaking to community planning, you did make changes, which is why you have a revised waiver. Thank you for that. You're aware of the planning condition, and as TRCA has no objection. So let's see if any follow-up questions either for the neighbor or the applicant, panel members, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Yes, Don Taylor, Mr. Chair. Just a question first. Is the applicant aware of the condition requested by the Urban Forestry Department, condition number 1?
Yes, I am aware of there are tree injury permit needs to be required, and Urban Forestry already visited my house as well, and I spoke with them, and I will fulfill all the recommendations.
Okay, well, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor. I'm prepared to move approval. I find the requested variances meet the four tests under the Planning Act. So I move for approval subject to urban forestry condition 1 and the condition requested by the Community Planning Department.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Do we have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion?
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patel, and thank you to the neighbor at 110 for your participation. Okay, our next application is item number 7, 19 Coney Road. And this is an application for a new front porch and a new enclosed porch on the west side. New front porch and new enclosed porch on the west side of the existing dwelling. There is only one variance, being the lot coverage, inclusive of the dwelling and existing rear shed covers 36.18 times the lot, where 33%. That is the only variance. And there's no communication from city departments. I thought we have two speakers, but one is the agent and one is the owner, so it's not opposed. Mr. Kovalu, you'll be the party speaking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just introduced the application. There's no opposition, no communication from city departments or neighbors. Is there anything you'd like to add before I see if committee members have any questions? I don't believe we need a presentation.
No, I think the way what we're seeking is the 3.18%, and also taking into account both of these structures are on top of an existing, in the case of the front porch, is on top of the existing front porch, as well as in the rear, that west addition is basically on top of an existing slab. We've taken into account the four tests of the Planning Act, as well as the potential impact on any neighboring properties, keeping into account the context of the neighborhood as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kovalu. Any questions for the agent, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, and I move approval. I find the requested variances meet the four tests under the Planning Act, and my motion would be without conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
That was Mr. Bellissimo. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval, with no conditions. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Kovalu. Okay, our next application is item number 8, 80 ATHOL Avenue. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and a one-story rear addition. There are 5 variances. We have a letter of concern regarding the one of the variants being the second floor platform at 10 meters versus the 4 square meters permitted. And that, I believe, is all we have. Registered to speak is Mario Silva, the agent. Mr. Silva.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mario Silva.
Okay, welcome,
So,
sir.
Basically, we have 5 variances.
Yes.
The only concern here is from the neighbor of 55 Edgecraft, which is across the street on the north side. And just so we understand, our second floor platform is tucked on the side, which is behind the rear front wall by about 4.6 meters. So the distance from this platform to the neighbor on the north is like 38, it's about 98 feet.
Is this the neighbor directly behind?
That's the neighbor behind us.
Okay.
So
the question is, and I don't know if committee members are going to ask you, you're allowed a 4 square meter second story platform. It's not like you're not allowed one, but you're coming in at 10 meters squared. Can I ask you, sir, where is that rear platform? Is it off a master bedroom? Is it off a common area?
It's off the, it's not off bedroom, it's actually off the stair, which is the stair going up to the second floor, so it's on the side of the stair behind.
Okay, so it is what normally the concern is. People say, well, 4 square meters, it's enough room for a table and 2 little cafe chairs to have a coffee outside. But when it starts getting larger, the potential arises for there being more larger gatherings, especially when it's not off. You don't have to go in through someone's bedroom to access it. So what's the intended use of this, and why should the committee approve it at 10 meters when 4 meters is permitted?
Well, 4 square meters is too small, so in order for them to have some landscaping on that platform is, 4 square meters does not do.
Okay, sir, is there on the ground floor, is there a deck or a balcony or some way to enjoy the outdoors from the ground floor? This is on the second floor. So it allows for
There's a
overlook.
deck yeah, there's a deck on the main floor facing the back, but
Okay. Anyway, so let's, yeah, we don't have that neighbor present. They just wrote the letter in, so let's see if committee members have any questions for you. Okay, if there's no questions, so Mr. Silva, you've said what you want to say. You don't have anything to add. I'll put it to the.
well, I just want to reaffirm that the deck is actually further back from the rear wall, so it's tucked away on the side. I don't think the neighbor should be concerned because of the distance that we have from this deck to their property. So there's quite a distance. It's about 100 feet. And this is a city.
Any questions for Mr. Silva? Is someone ready to make a motion? And I believe there is also urban forestry condition number 2 on this application, I believe.
That is correct, yes.
Neil Palmer, I'll move for approval. Variance is requested or minor in nature and meet 4 tests, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Okay, all in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Silva.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is item number 9, 30 East Glen Crescent. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 6 variances. There is a cover letter advising that they're eliminating the circular driveway, and accordingly the front yard landscape variance is eliminated. Planning is looking for the condition being built substantially or constructed as illustrated on a revised site plan with respect to the length of the cold room and the rear platform. And we have opposition. We have a letter. Yeah, we have 1 letter of opposition, and we have as well registered to speak. No, we only have the agent, Mr. Perez, registered to speak. We do have the planning condition, and the letter of opposition is from, let's see, 32 East Glen, right next door. Okay, and we have that in our package. Mr. Perez, welcome.
Hello, good morning, Chairman, committee members. My name is Eddie Perez. I'm here on behalf of the owner. As you can see, we're proposing to build a new 2-story dwelling. We have the variances of length, but the length is pertains to the balcony. I'm in the rooftop over the poured concrete veranda. The actual house is under the length by quite a bit. Also, we have top of the roof, which is 10.05, but that's only in the front portion of the house. If you look at the side elevation, the back portion is 9.63, which is only 13 centimeters over. And I feel that the variances that we're requesting are minor in nature and they meet the 4 tests.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Perez? And as well, if everyone's taken into consideration the letter, because we don't have some speaking, but Mr. Khalad at 32 EASTGLEN's letter. Okay. And we have the community planning condition and urban forestry.
Yeah, right.
1 and 2, right?
Yeah. But
You're okay
yes,
with
we
the
did.
condition and the 2 conditions from urban forestry and as well the planning condition?
Yeah, we're good with them. We'll take care of those conditions.
Okay, committee members, any questions for Mr. Perez or is someone ready to make a motion?
Neil Palmer, just one question. The planning department has asked for a condition limiting the, I guess, the site plan to the building length. To the applicant, would you have any issues if we also added to the roof height, since you mentioned that the roof height variance is really for the front of the house?
And 13 centimeters at the back. It's not.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what we'd like to do, or what I'm proposing, is that if we give approval, we would tie that to the site plan that you've submitted.
Yeah, no problem. We're okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
The site plan will be inspected, the length and the depth and the height. I guess.
Correct. Yeah. So I would, if there's no other questions, I'll move for approval, seeing that the variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Subject to the planning conditions that they've added and the urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Someone ready to second Mr. Palmer's motion?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, and I second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval, Mr. Perez. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, our next application is item number 10, 19 CUSTEAD Court. And this is to construct an accessory structure pool house in the rear yard. There are 3 variances. There are 4 letters of support. And I believe that is all we have. And the registered to speak is Kyle Kadra of KBK Architects. No others.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can you just state your name, please, for the record?
Hello, my name is Kyle Kadra. I'm the agent for 19 CUSTEAD. I just wanted to say that we have 5 letters of support. I don't know if that makes any difference.
Oh, okay, I said 4, but you have 5, so that's fine. I guess all these people are going to be invited to the pool. So, just a little joke.
That would be nice.
So no one opposed, no communication from city staff, so there's no conditions. So let's just see if committee members have any questions for you or if someone's ready to make a motion.
Danny Bellissimo, if no other members have any questions, I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
I find that the variances are minor in nature and move approval of variances. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Is that, hold on, yeah, there's no conditions. Seconder for Mr. Bellissimo's motion.
Sophia Reddick, I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, the next application is item 11, 371 Rathburn Road. This is an application to construct a new second-story east side addition, a new rear deck, a new rear second-story balcony, and a new front porch. There are 6 variances. Right, we have 2 letters of opposition. There's a covering letter reducing the second floor. The 2 opposition letters are actually signed by 4 neighbors. We have photos of comparable dwellings in the area. We have a covering letter indicating the reductions. They reduced the second floor deck from 19 square meters to 9.5 square meters, which is already shown in the notice. And we have conditions of approval by planning to have it constructed as illustrated as it relates to the main floor height. And transportation has conditions of approval as well. There's a note about the height is limited to the tower portion or the tower portico feature at the front. Okay, so having said all that introduction, we do have several speakers on this application. We have the agent Gia Govia, and we have as well the neighbors at 27 Halbadier Place, as well as the neighbor at 369 Rathburn. So we have several speakers here. We'll start off with the agent, Gia Govia.
Yeah, the name is Gil Govea. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Good morning.
Again, my name is Gil Govea. Good morning, sir. Gentlemen, we're requesting these variances. If you look at it closely, these 6 variances are minor, and the intent of it is to comply with as much as possible with all the planning acts and the committee of adjustments. So saying that, I did speak to the neighbor to the 369. I met him. We went personally. I walked him through the project, and also the neighbor to the west side, which is the 373. The neighbors to the back, I didn't have a chance because I didn't have the chance to go and speak to them, but the adjacent property owners, I did speak to them. If you look at the variances that we are requesting, the neighbor showed the concern, the neighbor to this 369, his concern was privacy. And I explained it to him that we met the planning department. They've asked us to cut it down to 10 meters. We went to 9.5, which is 102 square feet, which it's only allowed 43 square feet of this balcony, and this comes off a sort of an office recreation space. So it's not as if it's going to be family gatherings there or anything like that. And I explained to the neighbor to the on 369 that from the face of his wall to the side of this deck was approximately 28 feet away. So it wouldn't cause any shadowing or so you wouldn't have any circulation issues or anything like that. And then I explained to him also, his other concern was to make sure that on the east side towards 369, there were no openings at all. And I explained it to him, there are absolutely no openings whatsoever to the east side elevation. Now the extension of 11 feet 2 inches that we extended, it does not exceed the rear wall of his own property. And in the front, whatever we are doing to the front, we are not exceeding beyond the face of the existing dwelling. And his, on 369, is even further towards to the north side than my client's is, and the one on 363 is set further back. So it will not impede any of these neighbors at all with these minor variances. If we look at it number-wise, we're looking at on the gross floor area, we're permitted 0.45. We're asking for 0.47, which is only 85 square feet of floor space. And the way this house is built, it caught on fire. We didn't want to, my niece, she didn't want to demolish it to go and put it brand new. So we wanted to maintain exactly the same footprint. And that's why the second story addition sits exactly on the existing perimeter walls that exist there now. Only on the first floor, you have an extension of 11 feet and 2 inches. So the tower in the front, it's only an architectural feature because it's what the new style of the neighborhood brings out. Because if there's some photos of some dwellings that were just not too long ago recently built, and they have almost the same type of tower feature that we are proposing, you know. So the intent is not to come up with something that's going to create shadowing or claustrophobic scenarios to the neighbors. So we did take that all in consideration, and like I said, we're quite a bit of ways from the neighbor on the 373, and I assured also 369 not you wouldn't have any concern, because the only window he has is from the rear wall on that he's 4 meters away, plus our 1.2 meters. So so in that aspect, he's only has a window which is approximately 14 to 15 feet to the north side of facing the north side. So it's not going to create anything, any impact on privacy on his property.
Okay. Thank you for that. So just before we move on to the neighbor, just want to clarify, you're okay with the transportation proposed conditions of approval and the planning condition of approval to be
Yes.
constructed as illustrated for the height and the tower height?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so any questions for the agent before we move on to the neighbor? And it looks like the neighbors have written a letter for themselves, and there's also another letter signed by various neighbors. I guess the neighbors at the back. So no questions before we move on. So the next speaker we'll hear from is Vadim Shervitsov of 27 Hal Badier Place.
Yes. Good morning, guys. Can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, fantastic. So we would like to face our concerns.
Can you state your name, please, first? Don't me know who you are.
I apologize. My name is Oksana Chervitsova. I'm one of the people living in the 27 Hal Badier Place.
Right. Okay.
And I'll be speaking on behalf of my family, if that's all right.
Yep. So yeah, I think your
so-
husband was registered to speak instead, but you were going to speak instead.
Yes, I'm here. I can provide you some details.
It's okay. We
but
only
generally,
want one speaker from the same address. So if your wife's going to do it,
Yes,
that's
so
fine.
that'll be the speaker.
Yeah, we have your
Yes,
letter.
that will be me.
Yeah.
Yes, so so first, the concern is that we're representing all the neighbors. The backyard is facing us directly, so I think we'll be affected most of all. And I think everyone's on the same page that the first thing is we looked at the allowed at the sketch and the actual measurements stated here, and we believe they're completely incorrect. For example, the second floor platform that was indicated, it was supposed to be maximum allowed measurements is 4 square meters. Now, the platform itself, it appears to be close to close to 22 square meters, because if you can see at the sketch, the railing was put on the one side of the platform. But let's not, I mean, that's just a sneaky way of saying that this is going to be just this part of the platform will be the balcony. But what about the rest of it? So the rest of it is 22 square meters. And also I know that we're forgetting that there is a ratio between the size of the erected structure on the piece of land. And they cannot exceed 45%. And based on everything we've calculated that was provided in the sketch, there will be close to 65% of the land lot occupied by this, which is basically the house will be spilling over the size of the land that's been given. And I've seen the sketch of the house. It's a beautiful house, but if they want to build something so grand, they will be probably better off finding a bigger piece of land to build this on. Because this type of structure in our neighborhood, considering that This is an older neighborhood. We have vegetation. We have a little bit more space, and that's why our houses cost the way as much as they do. So here we're completely losing all the privacy, because I know that they will not be able to plant the trees as big as their house right away. They will need time to grow. They will not be able to build a higher fence. But at this point right now, it affects directly the resale value of our property. Because if we're planning, this is a big part of my parents' retirement, and if they're planning to sell this house, if you look in the backyard, our backyard would be completely blocked off. There'll be no space. Even their backyard can be completely, just like a little piece of backyard left for them. So it's going to be just this huge house on this tiny little piece of land. And our argument is that if the proposed changes were all legal, we would not be here. So they can renovate their house, they can update it, but I want to make sure that they stay within the legal limits. I apologize, legal limits.
Okay.
Yep.
The legal, so you mean that they should build what's permitted by the bylaw? It's not that it's illegal. It's
by the bylaws, correctly, because they exceed so. They really exceed. We looked at all the measurements, and the way they've been calculated, the square footage or square meters, whatever you want to use, it really exceeds of what it's been stated in other documents when we were called in to discuss this matter in front of you guys today. Well, so it's just I don't trust the information I've been provided at all, just because we're already seeing a lot of discrepancies here. So well, there's a lot of.
I think he started off. He said he started off with a balcony of 19.5 meters, and he cut it down. Your letter, which I'm going to mention something about. You say it's not, the measurement isn't right, and it includes something else. But I just want to point out to you, because I'm concerned about your comment that it's such a big house for the lot. Because if you look at variance 1, ma'am, they're permitted to build a floor space index of 0.45, the area of the lot of 230.54 meters. And in fact, they're looking to build 0.47, which is only 8 square meters above the bylaw. So the house is only 8 square meters, 2 floors. So that means it's, I'm concerned that you're saying, I'm confused that you're saying it's so large, because it's not, it doesn't appear to be much larger than what's permitted on the lot.
Sir, this is my argument, that this information that you've been provided, it's incorrect. Because after calculating everything, it's not going to be exactly 0.47% of the landmass. It's going to be close to 65%. This, apologize, close to 60% that we've counted. And we can actually go, because my dad is really good at math, he is an engineer, so he calculated everything, and he can go over this with you to prove to you that our measurements are indeed correct.
Well, all I have to say about that is, all I have to say, ma'am, is if your neighbor gets permission to build at 0.47 times the lot, that's all they're permitted to build. There's even been a request that it be tied to the plans with respect to the main floor height. So I just don't understand your position, but that's fine. Let's see if committee members have any questions for you.
No, my position is I am looking at the sketch. I'm looking at what's allowed. I'm looking at what they're asking for. Okay. And I already can see, by the way, that the house, the original size of this lot today, right now, before the changes, already exceeds 45%. It's closer to 47 already as it is. So that already exceeds the allowable legal limit. So now they're proposing to build, instead of their allowed 103.74 square meters, they're asking for 138 square meters, which is not going to be 47% of the lot, of the land. Doesn't add up mathematically.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's see if committee members have any questions for you. If you'd like to wrap up, if there's something else you'd like to add, please do it quickly. You've been
no, I just, my argument is that, guys, I just wanted to say that this building, doing upgrades, it's all right with me. It's just as I said, the size of this house, from everything we've calculated, and we really spent a lot of time on this, it does really exceed legal limits in terms of the size of the property versus the size of the land. And the neighbors are really, we're all adjacent. And it's, and it's really going to affect our resale value. And that's really important to all of us, I'm sure. There is no emotions involved here. It's just we're practically looked at this, and yes, I would suggest that the person would be better off acquiring a larger piece of land and building that larger property on it.
Okay.
And not because, as I said, it's our neighborhood, and we all really care very much about it. So I
Okay,
just don't think we should be
Getzel.
fair.
Thank you, Mr. Getzel.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's see, does anyone have any
Thank you.
questions for the speaker? And that letter that she wrote is written on behalf of herself and the neighbors on both sides and the other neighbor behind. Any questions for this speaker before we move on to the next speaker? Okay, if not, let's hear from the neighbor at 369 Rathburn, right next door. We also have a letter on file from that neighbor as well. I'm not sure who will be speaking. Will it be Sunil or Rosemary?
Hi, good morning, everyone, the committee and the chair. And my name is Sunil Francis Rosario, the owner of 369, immediate neighbor of 371. And I have expressed my concern in my email. And our main concern is the total height of the house, because I'll be most affected neighbor on the east side, because they're building second story on the east side, and the height is much above the permitted height of the neighborhood. And my view of my house will be blocked, lights will be blocked. And I also expressed my concern, the back deck, that will definitely our privacy issue. And from the second floor, they can see everything in the backyard. So everybody loves to enjoy the backyard, especially in the summer. So that is my another concern. And I'm talking about the front porch. I believe that will be built in the main floor, not in the second floor. Is that correct?
Well, you want to pose a question, then we can have the applicant answer it in his rebuttal. What was the question? Just to make sure that we get an answer.
My question is the front porch that will be built in the main floor, not in the second floor, correct? In the design I see in the main floor.
Yeah, we have main floor height of 7.5 and a tower height of with the architectural feature of 8.13. And as I mentioned earlier, the planning department is requesting that it be tied exactly to those numbers as it relates to the main floor height and the tower height. So that would be a condition that's community planning, is to make sure that they don't exceed that height in any other way other than as maintained under that variance. So they've asked that to be for your protection and the protection of the neighborhood, that be tied to the and constructed as shown on that main floor and the tower height.
Yeah, as per the design, it shows it is in the main floor, the porch, correct?
Yes. You're saying
okay, that's
because I see in your letter you say the platform would be higher than the second story of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hear from him in response. So any other concerns? Your concern is, as the other speaker, the size of the massing of the property, as well as the backyard, the rear deck on the second floor, which affects your privacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? And otherwise, I'll see if committee members have any questions for you, Mr. Rosario, or we'll give it back to the agent, the architect, to respond to your concerns and the other neighbors' concerns. Okay, so that's nothing else you'd like to add? Does anyone have any questions for the speaker, the neighbor next door at 369 Rathburn? Okay, there being none, let's go back to the agent for response or rebuttal to the issues raised by the neighbors.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I'm really baffled by the neighbor to the back on number 27 stating that the amount of that we're exceeding by, because as we all know, this is the reason why we have a zoning review, that everything is confirmed and calculated by.
Hold on, Mr. Guvia. I think something just went down. Our screens are all blank. Is everyone with us on? Are the committee members with us?
Sophia, I can
I
see
can hear.
everybody.
I can hear and see.
You can hear? Do you have a
Neil
visual?
Palmer here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is
So,
there else? Yeah.
so,
Okay, go ahead, continue.
so, what I'm saying is that, like I said before, I'm baffled by the neighbor to the back. First of all, from the back of their yard, from the back of the face of their property to the back of this proposal that you're talking about almost 70 feet in length.
Right.
So as you can see on the minor variance, there is no rear yard setbacks. There's no side yard setbacks. Okay, on what we're asking, we're almost 42 feet, 41 feet and 11 inches to be exact, from the rear fence to the back of the addition. So I don't understand. I've tried to explain, and to the neighbor to 369, I told him that the deck is only on the main floor in the front, which will not exceed the front of the dwelling. It's in parallel with the second floor. So it's just a balcony, it's open. I explained all this to him. We're not doing anything to impact anyone. And in the back, as you can see by the photos, that the houses in the back are protected by enormous trees. Okay, no one is taking any privacy away from anyone. When we designed this, we had the neighbors, all the intentions of the neighbor to be there to make sure that everybody was okay with this.
Yep.
But I didn't have a chance to go and speak to each single person.
Okay.
So you can see on the back there how far that is.
Mhm. My next question then, we heard from the neighbor that the massing of the house is huge and she'd buy a bigger piece of land or something. But I'm looking at the variance number 1. Am I correct? You're only 8 square meters over what's permitted as your floor space index.
That's all. That's exactly what is shown there. I don't know where these calculations came from.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, that everything that's shown on the drawings, number by number, it will be confirmed also by the building department. It's not as if no one's playing any tricks here. We show a measurement and all of a sudden we're going to build it something else. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I tried to mention that as well, that if you get approved at 0.47, that's what you're going to build, no more, certainly no more.
That's exactly. That's the way we're going to go. It's not next. We submit for permits and we get another 10 square meters. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, Mr. Gavia, let's move on. To see if any of the members have any follow-up questions, either for you or for the neighbors for that matter at this juncture, or if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
Neil Palmer here. Just regarding the transportation comments, you indicated to the applicant that you were in support of their comments. And I need clarification maybe from staff, because I'm a little confused, because one of the variances you're asking for is, I believe, for width of driveway. And the transportation department is saying they will only allow you 3.2 meters in width. But you're asking for 6 meters.
No, but we're okay with that. We're okay with that.
3.2.
Yes.
So
yes,
we
we're okay with it.
Revising variance 5 then.
Yes.
Or variance 5 isn't needed then.
No, we'll comply with what the transportation recommendations are.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
if you do that, I guess, and that variance is, Mr. Carvalino, should that variance then be stricken if he's agreeing to these 3 conditions, which includes the dimensions of 3.2 and 5.6 as the minimum dimensions?
The transportation, through you, Mr. Chair, the transportation condition refers to the front yard parking, so that has to be removed. And on private property, it just speaks to the parking space.
Okay. And that's on the portion that's entirely on private property.
However, if the applicant is reducing that variance, that's another matter.
Through the chair, can we get clarification on what variances are before us then?
The variance six, it says, or the variance 5, the maximum permitted driveway width is 3.2. That's the maximum, and you're at 6.1. And they're saying, if I flip back over, well, they said 3.2, which would mean you comply. So in other words, you're right. Thanks for catching that, Mr. Palmer. I assume that in that case, variance 5 is to be deleted because he's agreeing to those 3 conditions. So that was a very good catch. So item 5 should be deleted, correct? As part of your motion, as well as we have the planning condition and the transportation. You want to?
Well, to be fair, I haven't made a motion yet. I just want a clarification.
Oh, sorry.
But, subject to any of the other members having any questions. Okay, having heard everything, I'll move a motion for approval, seeing that the variances as revised are, as requested, are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Per planning condition, which is tied to the elevations dated January 29th, and per the transportation conditions. So that would mean removal of variance 5.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Mr. Palmer. Anyone ready to second that motion?
John Taylor seconds the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All in favor? I see everyone's hand go up. I don't see Danny. We don't have a visual on you. Danny, are you you're okay with this? Mr. Bellissimo, are you in favor of this? I can't see you. We don't have a visual.
Danny, give a verbal.
You can't see me. I can see you. Yes, my hand is up. Thank you. I'm approval.
Okay, thank you. So I can now tell the applicant it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, neighbors, and thank you, applicant.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, item number 12. 68 Haverson Boulevard. We have Mr. Zabzuni as the only registered speaker, the agent on this application. And this is an application to construct a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, a 2-story rear addition, and a rear detached garage. There are 5 variances. Planning is looking for a condition to be constructed as illustrated on the site plan regarding the depth and building length, which includes the excavated front covered porch. And we have a petition in support, and that's all we have. Mr. Zabzuni, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway, and I'm here for the homeowners at 68 Haverson Boulevard.
Okay. So we have a letter supporting the petition. We have the planning. You're aware of the planning conditions, sir, and your client's okay with that?
Yes, they're okay.
Okay. I don't think we need a presentation from you unless there's something you'd like to add. I'll just see if committee members have any questions for you or if someone's ready to make a motion. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Basically, we've been working with planning. The homeowners have lived in the area for a long time, and they get along with the neighbors very well. They're very involved in the community and the neighborhood, and all we're asking for is a 2-story addition and rebuild a new garage, which actually now is proposed within the lot, whereas the existing garage encroaches on city property. So I believe that's an improvement. Okay. Considering all the development in the neighborhood, we believe it's fairly minor, and happy to answer questions if you have any.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Zabzuni, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Danny Bellissimo, I'm ready to make a motion if there are no other further questions from the members. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Good. Okay. So I move approval. I find that the variances are minor in nature is subject to the recommendation of condition by the planning department. The proposed development should be constructed as illustrated in the site plan submitted January 26, 2021. and held on file by the Committee of Adjustment as it relates to the proposed building length and building depth, which includes the proposed excavated front porch.
Thank you. Do we have someone to second Mr. Verissimo's motion? You're getting some feedback there, but it just ended.
Sophia Reddick, I second the motion. Did you hear that?
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Thank you. We heard that now. All in favor? Okay, unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Zabzuni.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application, item number 13, is 43 Truman Avenue. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 5 variances, and we have absolutely nothing, no comments from city staff, and no comments from neighbors. However, we do have the neighbor at 41 Truman present to make a deputation. So first we'll hear from the agent. Is the agent Sia Zanjani? Is Sia Zanjani with us, the agent for 43 Truman, item number 13?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Because I've been having issues with my audio. So, my name is Sia Zanjani, and I'm the architect and the agent here on behalf of the owner of 43 Truman. We are here before the committee for five variances. I'm gonna go over each one very quickly,
Sir,
just to clarify.
yes, sir, I
Go ahead.
don't believe you need to do that. Unless the committee wants to go through the variances, we see them. However, we do have a neighbor here present with some concerns, which we don't know what they are because they didn't write in. They're just, and it's their right to come and just speak today. So why don't I suggest, looking at your variances, unless committee would like, anyone like a presentation, or can we just hear from the neighbor what the concerns are, and we'll let the agent will then have a chance to respond. So is the neighbor Humberto Mariano at 41 Truman with us?
Yes, it's me.
Welcome.
I am, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Humberto Mariano. I live on the south side, 41 Truman, where the proposed build is to be done. My concerns is, I'm concerned with all the variances. I mean, I personally built my own house right beside it just 8 years ago, and I kept everything within variances, and I have a lovely home, thank you. And this just seems really big. Like my home is 205 square meters, and he's proposing 320 square meters. Like that's huge. And I mean, the allotted space. Also on the, so that's the variance of number 2. And then number 1, I find that I don't think they need to take up so much space for a lot of reasons. I think it impacts the sunlight, the shade. We're going to have a lot of shade. Drainage is a major issue here on our streets. The footprint, I think, is a bit excessive. And the other section, where is this one? Number 5, variance number 5, is that? No, sorry, I apologize. Number 3, section number 3, like allowing homes to be closer to the property line. I think it just takes away from the character of everything, and by allowing that, it's going to let more and more people just try to get as much from the land as they can.
And sir, is that on your side, the north lot line? Is that the one?
No, that's not on my side.
Okay, so
but
I
it
guess
could be next.
Yeah.
It could be because the house south of me is a bungalow also, right? So, I mean, in the future could affect me later on. By allowing these variances, then later on, they may be able to go, let's say, half a meter, which is, which
At this
wouldn't
point,
like
they're
either.
looking to build a new home, and instead of it, it looks like they're looking to comply with the south side lot line on your side at 1.2
Yes.
meters, and on the other side, it's 0.3 of a meter. It's like a foot difference, a foot closer. Perhaps we can hear from the agent in his rebuttal as to why he needs to come, even though it's only a foot closer, why he's doing that, even though it's not on your side. And then you're concerned as well, we'll hear from him as to the suitability and of the floor space index, which you're indicating is 320 square meters, and you're at, like, you complied at around 210, 205, as well as the lot coverage.
Correct.
As to how that's compatible.
Correct.
So is there anything else you'd like to add before I first see if...
Well, the heights are also...
questions?
Well, also the heights. I mean, I don't understand why they have to get so, like, they have to be so high. I mean, it stands out. If that's what they want, the house to really stand out, this will stand out. Yeah, I guess that's all for now.
Okay, so is your house a flat roof house, or no, you have a traditional peak roof?
Traditional peak.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Mariano before we go back to the agent? Any committee members have any questions? Okay, and there being none, let's move it back to Mr. Sanjani, the agent, to respond to the concerns of the neighbor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I really wish I had the 5 minutes to present, because there's a lot of issues that were brought up that 1 minute may not be enough, but I'll try to do it as quickly as we can.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, perfect.
You got 5 minutes.
All right, perfect. So, just something that I want the committee members to understand. From the onset of the project, we before we even started drawing, we looked at every single committee of adjustment application that within the past 5 years that were approved and refused, just to make sure that we are in keeping with the overall size of the new development in the area. So there are many examples that are substantially over what we have. For instance, 54 Truman has a lot coverage of 36.8%, 55 Truman at 37.7%, 30 Brawley at 42%, 56 Brawley at 36.14%. And even when it comes to FSI, we have numbers as high as 0.69 for 55 Truman, which is not too far from us, and even 0.71 for 30 Brawley, which is within the vicinity. To address the height issue, I wish we could look at the Google Street View of the street and our neighbor Mr. Mariano's house to the south, just to see that 41 Truman will be substantially higher than our proposal. I mean, we're almost complying with the building height. And mind you, I want to mention that with respect to variance number 4, which is the building height issue, we measure to the highest point of the roofing, basically the membrane that provides drainage. Whereas if we had measured to the roof decking, we would have actually complied at 7.2. So it's a minor variance in terms of height. And again, we're substantially lower than number 41 Truman. I'm looking at the street view. 41 Truman has almost 6 risers at the front just to get to the front porch, whereas we only have I believe we have 2 risers with modest ceiling heights of 10 and 9.5. The other thing that that I want to clarify is the side yard setback. We are fully compliant on the south side, and the 1.2 meter setback. The 0.9, which is item number 3. It is a partial projection on the ground floor only, and it is only the front 7.6 meter out of the entire length of the house. So it is not like we were aggressive or trying to take advantage. It was a space that was crucially needed within the floor plan, and we kind of used that to come up with a better floor plan. At the same time, that variance in conjunction with the variance for the roof parapet height, which is number 5, was something that was part of our design approach to make sure that the house does not look like a flat box. So it was just to kind of add some visual interest, some projections, and just to make sure to achieve a nice streetscape. So that was because of that. Drainage, again, it was brought up. Drainage, we will be providing a grading plan done by a certified consultant as part of the building permit, so that should be taken care of. And in terms of footprint, again, we're complying with almost all the setbacks except that side setback, and we are complying with the building length. In terms of impact, there will be absolutely no shadow impact or privacy on 41 Truman. Yeah, thank you.
So you said the 41 Truman is actually higher than you? The gentleman did say I don't believe he said when he built his house 8 years ago, he didn't go to committee, he complied with the bylaw. I don't know, is there a grade change on the street, or it's pretty flat?
So from what I see, so the 41 is a sloped roof, and as you're aware, under the new bylaw, I don't know when this was built. It was part of the citywide bylaw 569/2013 or before that, but the height restriction for sloped roofs are much higher than a flat roof, and are different at 10 meters versus 7.2. So we are at 7.3. So if they complied a maximum of 10 meters, they're still substantially higher than 7.39 meters.
Right. And you said you did measure from the drainage point as opposed to the floor of the roof. I guess that's the way you're supposed to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that plus also the parapet is just to clarify, it's measured from the permitted height of 7.2 as opposed to what's being proposed. So we are actually not at 0.8. So it is measured from 7.2 meters versus being measured from 7.39. So the parapets are fairly shallow. So
okay, thank you, sir. Let's see if does anyone have any questions either for Mr. Sanjani or for the neighbor, Mr. Mariano, or is someone ready to make a motion? We have no communication from city departments on this application. There are no conditions.
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I find the proposal meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval without conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Neil Palmer, second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, it looks like you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mrs. Sanjani, and thank you, Mr. Morani, as well. Okay, so we'll now move on to our last item of the morning agenda. Item number 14, 17 Lady Bank Road. And this is to construct a new attached dwelling with an attached garage. We have 6 variances. Planning is asking for a condition. Again, similar to the other condition, having it tied to the plan. Constructed as illustrated. In this instance, it's for the architectural drawings held on file as it relates to ensuring the second floor length does not exceed 15.93 meters and does not extend above the covered rear patio. And that's the only condition. We have urban forestry condition number 2 as well. And registered speaker on this application is Marco Vieira. No other registered speakers. So it's an unopposed application. Mr. Vieira, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Marco Vieira here. I am the agent and the designer for this application.
Okay.
And
Mr. Vieira, you're aware of the planning condition proposed?
yes, we did review it. We had the discussion and we have no objections. The main issue was to ensure that the length and depth of the dwelling was being retained to the basement because of the covered patio has a basement below it. So first and second floor is in compliance with the length. It's just that it's taken to the extent of the basement.
So that's
That's why we have no objections.
And that's why you're at 39.96. Because it's
Correct, because the porch area then gets added to the house footprint, and that is why we exceed. If it was just the house alone without an excavated patio below, we would be in compliance with the lot coverage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Villa. You're also aware of the urban forestry requested condition, and you're okay with that?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so let's see if committee members have any questions or if we're ready for a motion. Okay, it looks like there's no questions for Mr. Vieira. Is someone ready to bring a motion on this application?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I find the application to meet the test under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2 and the condition requested of the Community Planning Department.
Thank you, Delissimo. Seconds the motion.
Thank you, Danny. You're getting some feedback. Maybe you can look at that over the lunch break. So we're good now. Okay, all in favor?
We're good now. Good. Thank you.
All in favor? I can't see Sophia. Sophia, you're okay? We lost visual on Sophia.
I'm in favor. I can see myself and everybody else, and I'm in favor.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so you have unanimous approval, Mr. Vieira, and we now stand adjourned until the afternoon session starts at 1 or 1:15. Okay, at 1:15 we'll be back for the afternoon session. Have a good lunch, everyone.